Have you ever wondered about a village in the UK, where once you step inside, you might never leave the same? An ancient village, filled with old timber houses, fog that moves as if alive, and eyes that watch you, even when no one is there. Tonight, I'll take you on a journey into this mysterious village, hiding secrets and stories you could never imagine. Whispers echo, shadows appear and vanish. Everything around you is not what it seems. Do you dare to step inside? Get ready, because what you're about to see might change everything forever. To an old village of the United Kingdom. The village was silent, the cobblestone streets twisted like a maze. Old wooden houses lined the way, their windows broken and worn. A cold wind blew, rustling the leaves like whispering voices. I walked into the narrow street. The damp smell of earth and old wood filled the air. The sky was heavy with clouds, barely letting sunlight through. The sound of my footsteps echoed in the stillness. One house looked different. The wooden door was broken and hanging. The dirty windows showed only dim shadows inside. I felt emptiness and traces of the past. I stepped closer. The wooden floor creaked under my weight. The walls were lined with long cracks. The wind blew through the gaps, making noises like someone walking behind me. I turned but saw no one. The silence pressed down on me. My eyes caught the room on the second floor. The window was open, even though no one was inside. The narrow lane stretched ahead, flanked by cottages that looked older than memory itself. Their timber frames creaked as though whispering secrets to the wind. The air was thick with the scent of damp wood and fallen leaves. A faint fog began to curl around the corners of the street, giving the place an otherworldly feel. I walked slowly, my footsteps echoing on the cobblestones. Each echo seemed to return with a strange delay, as if the village itself was listening. Windows stared at me like unblinking eyes, their glass panes fogged and grimy. Shadows flickered behind the curtains, vanishing whenever I tried to look closer. A sudden chill ran down my spine. It wasn't the cold, it was something else, something intangible, heavy, almost oppressive. The wind whispered through the cracks in the doors, carrying words I couldn't understand. Or perhaps I didn't want to. At the end of the lane, an old fountain gurgled faintly. Its stone surface was slick with moss, and the water's surface reflected the gray sky in uneven ripples. I paused, my reflection staring back, distorted and pale. Then I noticed movement. A figure appeared, half hidden behind the fountain. At first, I thought it was a trick of the mist. But no, someone was there. A woman, or maybe a girl, cloaked in a shawl that seemed far too old-fashioned. Her eyes caught mine for a fleeting moment. They were hollow, almost hollowed out of memory itself. She didn't speak. She didn't move, yet I felt her gaze pierce straight into my chest. I wanted to call out, but my voice had fled. My feet, too, seemed rooted to the spot. The silence was broken by a sudden sound, a door creaking somewhere behind me. I turned sharply. No one was there, only the narrow alley, twisting further into shadows. I tried to convince myself it was nothing. An old village has noises, of doors, of wood, of animals, of wind. Yet the feeling wouldn't leave. It was as if the village itself was alive, breathing, watching, judging. I forced myself to move forward. Past the fountain, the lane widened slightly. I could see more cottages, their chimneys puffing faint smoke as if someone, somewhere, still lived here. The fog swirled unnaturally around them, almost avoiding the lighted windows. Then I heard it, a whisper, so soft I almost thought I imagined it. Leave, leave. It carried a hollow resonance, like a voice trapped between worlds. I froze. The hairs on my arms stood up. And then, without warning, a door at the far end of the street slammed shut with a deafening bang. My heartbeat spiked. I wasn't sure whether to run or stay. I couldn't tell if I was being invited, or warned. The fog thickened. Shapes began to emerge. Figures in the mist, fleeting glimpses of faces that disappeared when I blinked. A sudden memory hit me, stories of this village I had read long ago. Tales of people vanishing without a trace, of travelers who returned changed, haunted. I had laughed then, thinking them exaggerated. Now, I felt their truth in my chest, cold and relentless. I stumbled forward, toward a faint light spilling from a window. Inside, I could see a room, dusty and lined with old books. A fireplace glowed dimly, though no smoke rose from it. Curiosity battled fear within me. I reached for the door handle, hesitant, my hand trembling. The door swung open with a groan. Inside, the air was heavy, smelling of old paper and something else I couldn't name. The room was empty, yet I sensed presence all around me. Shadows clung to the corners, moving in ways no shadow should. And then I saw it, a portrait hanging above the fireplace. A family, perhaps, from centuries ago. But their eyes, they moved. Tracking me, following me. A sudden gust of wind blew through the room, though the windows were closed. Candles flickered, casting long, twisted shadows on the walls. And then I heard the whisper again, louder this time. Not yours, not yours. Panic surged. I spun around, looking for an exit, but the door had vanished. The walls seemed closer now, breathing, pulsating like the heartbeat of the village itself. Every step I tried to take felt slower, heavier. The floor beneath me creaked and groaned, as if protesting my presence. A low, mournful sound rose behind me, like a chorus of voices, speaking in unison, yet not speaking at all. The temperature dropped further. Frost began forming on the edges of the windows. And in that moment, I realized, the village was not just old. It was alive, alive in ways I could never have imagined. I turned, desperate to escape. And then I saw her again, the girl, the woman, the presence that had watched me from the fountain. She stood at the center of the room now. Closer. Her hollow eyes were fixed on me, and her mouth moved. No sound came out, yet I understood every word. Some paths are not meant to be walked alone. The walls seemed to close in. The portraits on the walls shifted, the painted eyes following me in a silent chorus. I tried to scream. Nothing. The whispers grew louder, overwhelming. And then, in a blinding flash of light, everything changed. I was outside again, standing in the lane, fog clearing. The village looked ordinary now. Quiet, as if nothing had happened. But I knew the village had seen me. It had marked me, and somewhere, in the recesses of my mind, I could still hear the whispers. I never walked that lane again. Yet at night, I dream of it. Of the cottages, the mist, the hollow eyes, and the girl who whispered secrets older than time. And sometimes, when the wind is just right, I swear I hear her call my name. Calling me back. The old village of the UK had not released me. It never would. Days turned into weeks, yet the image of the village lingered in my mind like a half-forgotten dream. I avoided maps, avoided conversations, even avoided thoughts that led me near it. But there was a strange pull, a quiet whisper at the edge of my consciousness, urging me to understand, to forgive, to let go. One evening, I found myself standing at the outskirts of a different village. It was ordinary, yet there was something familiar about the cobblestones, the crooked chimneys, the faint smell of moss and damp wood. I realized then that the village had never wanted to harm me. It had only asked for respect. It had wanted me to witness its history, to acknowledge its memory, to understand its existence. The girl, the presence I had felt so strongly, was no longer haunting. She had guided me, silently, through fear to clarity. I understood now that some mysteries are not meant to be solved, but honored. Some paths are not for wandering, but for learning. I walked slowly along the lane, feeling a soft warmth in the foggy air. The cottages seemed less ominous now, more like guardians of stories long forgotten. The whispers had faded, replaced by the gentle rustling of leaves, a language I could finally understand. The village was alive, yes, but alive in peace, in memory, in quiet dignity. I left with no fear, only reverence. As I turned the final corner, the sunlight broke through the morning mist. For the first time, I smiled without hesitation. The village had given me a gift, not terror, but wisdom. Not confinement, but freedom. And as I walked away, I whispered back to the wind. Thank you. I never returned to that village of the UK. Yet it remained with me always, a reminder that the past, no matter how mysterious, can teach us more than we ever imagined. And that even in the darkest corners, there is light for those who are willing to see. The village remained silent, watching, remembering. And in that silence, it finally found peace.